Welcome to Whatcha, Makin, a podcast about sharing ideas, discussing the business of making, and connecting with the maker community. Your host are Alex Adams, an engineer turned furniture maker of type of furniture, and Alex Duffey, an alien pretending to be a maker of Duffey woodcraft. Oh! This is what you're making!
Welcome to What You're Making, everybody. Sorry. Welcome to What You're Making. This is the first episode of 2026. Remember, we're a podcast where we talk about what's on our bench, spotlight makers throughout the community, and to remind you that every minute, 500 hours of YouTube content is uploaded, which in another way means 82 years of content is uploaded every single day to YouTube. Tonight's main topic is content making. I'm Alex Duffey, and you can find me on Instagram and on YouTube at Duffey Woodcraft.
Now, did you know that every minute, 60 seconds passes in Africa?
Oh, but do they bless the rains down in Africa?
I think that's to be determined. But I am Alex Adams at Type A Furniture. You can find me at Type A Furniture on Instagram. How about you, sir?
And by the way, don't worry. That song is a one and done. We're not going to do that again.
You definitely caught me off guard with that one, with the hard rock. I guess I don't. Is that technically a hard rock genre? More of a grunge?
I typed in rock ballad, and that's what it gave me. So
yeah, fair enough. Yeah, rock ballad works for that.
Yeah.
Well, you know who else rocks?
Our patrons.
Our patrons. Yeah. And they have become patrons of the show by going to patreon.com/whatchamakingShow, and they have subscribed to one of our currently 3 tiers. We've got the instant release tier, which gives you access to the show early, as well as I believe that tier gives us sticker. Is that what
stickers? That's right.
Stickers. And then our next level tier is called the Riddler, which that one you can submit questions to us to answer. And let's see. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out. I think you get an additional sticker from both of us of our own brands.
We know what our tiers offer. Trust us.
Exactly. We know what we're doing here. We're professionals. And then the other tier that we have is You're the Captain Now, which that tier gives you everything else the other tiers have, on top of being able to basically suggest what discussion topics we cover during our episodes. So yeah, again, head on to patreon.com/whatchamakingShow and take a look at those tiers.
Yeah. If you become a captain, you basically get to boss us around. So you should totally do that.
Oh, and there'll definitely be mutiny if that happens, right? Or maybe they start the mutiny to become the captain. Is that how it works?
Maybe. I just want somebody to join so I can be, captain, my captain, and you know.
I mean, I'm in a quadruple landlocked state, so I do not know how pirate stuff works. I'm like the furthest removed from that naval environment.
Interestingly enough, about pirates, you bring that up. My friend Kara today sent me a reel about pirates on TikTok, and I'm going to play it here very briefly because it
is it about scurvy?
No, it's about me.
Wow, the popularity of the name Alex matches pirate attacks globally.
And it's a graph of the name Alex and the pirate attacks, and they match up apparently. So the more popular Alex is, the more popular pirate attacks are.
Arr.
Arr.
That was me
What
imitating
you
a pirate
doing?
giving the rating of a movie.
Yeah, I'm yo ho ho, a pilot's life for me.
What you doing?
So this week on Whatcha, Makin in this section, I have not been in the shop whatsoever. I've my little vacation for the end of December after my big, month and everything. So what I've been making is Legos. It is in our household, we call Lego January has officially started. And what that is my wife and I buy each other gifts we buy each other Legos for Christmas and actually my birthday as well, because it's in November. And we hoard them until January. And then we spend all of January building our Lego sets and listening to an audiobook together at the dining room table. So
that sounds way cooler than doing like jigsaw puzzles. Although like I do come from a family that does love a good jigsaw puzzle during the holidays, but
so
building,
yeah.
I guess the only downside would be building Legos with other people, because I am such a control freak about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so we absolutely do not share the sets. Yeah, we each have our own sets.
Okay, so you're building stuff in tandem.
Yes, we're just at the table together building. We're not building the same set. That we have our own. Victoria loves the botanical flower sets, so she's building all the different flower sets. I am currently putting together the big Enterprise D set that came out this holiday season too.
How many pieces is that?
3,600. It's a big boy.
Nice. That's a big one. My son got, I can't remember if I had mentioned it. He got a Hogwarts Lego set that was like 2,600 some pieces, and he did that in like, it was a castle of Hogwarts, and that one took him like 5-ish cumulative hours. He did it in like 2 sessions. And
but nice.
Actually, today he had used his gift card that he had gotten at Christmas for Shields, and he had gotten a Lego set there that was the car from the Weasleys' blue little car.
Yeah, the flying car.
It was like the bigger, like he had one that was like a small one that was like maybe 4 or 5 inches. This one was like, I don't know, maybe like 10 inches long. I think it was maybe like 600 or 800 pieces or
something.
something.
Whomping willow to sit in or something?
No, but there's a mechanism in it where when you fold out the doors, it like pops the suitcase out of the trunk. So it like pops open the trunk and it like kind of like shoots it out. So I think it's technically one of those Technic sets, because it's got the like motion and those components in it. So
I've got the last Christmas I did the Back to the Future set. So speaking of flying cars.
Oh yeah, I guess Doc did make that car fly. I was gonna say, I was like,
the hover conversion in the late 1920s or 2020s, he said. Yeah, which we've already passed, and we don't have flying cars, or at least not the same way. We have
more of a legality thing with flying cars and FAA regulation. It's not it's
US is
less
just
about
a little
the
bit
technical
behind
aspect and more about the regulatory, like, and people being terrible drivers, let alone put them in 3 dimensions as opposed to just
China,
like 2D.
China just actually put a big grant system together to basically encourage companies to develop flying cars for their citizens. And so like this year is like the first grant payouts and stuff. And so there's a whole bunch of progress going on over there that they want to basically be the people to bring the flying car to the world.
All I can think about is it's in Futurama where the flying cars, they have like the floating stoplights and things. And also like, was it in the Fifth Element where they had the flying cars? And I think there was like different like
food truck.
Yeah, like stuff like that where you got some of the like the flow of traffic happening, and like how you even direct that with it's going to take a lot of work to figure that out, because it's hard enough to teach people to drive nowadays with just a regular road. I can't imagine. Yeah.
Well, that's why flying cars and stuff like that, it's all going to be automated. They're going to take away your ability to fly or drive. Which
we'll just be like in WALL-E and have our little like hover chairs that just like take us everywhere. That's what it'll end up being.
So anyways, that's the first thing I've been doing. I've also just been doing a bunch of house projects, doing some cleaning and picking up and things like that I've been focused on. But I did want to say something that has been happening in the background that I've been working on that I can now talk about more of is Andy Bird is launching a community. He already has a Discord, in which many of you, I'm sure, are already part of, but he is launching a paid community that is going to be for one-on-one coaching. It's going to allow you to have basically direct access to him. He's going to do weekly calls that you can do coaching with. And there are 3 other pros that he has brought in to be part of the team for coaching. I'm one of those pros that he's brought in. So we're launching that next week. Or actually not, sorry, this week from when we're filming it. So go over to my website to learn more. I've got a link over to it for some information. But if you're looking for CNC coaching from experts like Andy's the guy I learned all my stuff from as far as the CNC business goes, and a huge expert in the field on CNC businesses. So if you're looking for that, go there. That's been something I'm excited about that it's been working on in the background.
Which is duffywoodcraft.com, correct? That's your...
Yep, my website is duffywoodcraft.com. And then when you're there, go over to the partners page, and you'll see Andy's link there under the partners page, along with an affiliate code.
Cool.
Yeah. What have you been working on, Alex?
I have done a little bit on projects and a little bit of around the shop organization. So one of the things that I worked on was for that dining table, I had to cut out one more plank essentially for that one. And how I wanted to do that one was out of the slab, which is about an 8-foot slab. I just basically cut out 1/4 section of that for my piece. And so what I had done with that one, because the other ones, it was like pretty much like a 7-foot piece. So there was like a top section that I cut off, and then the remaining portion that was just over 4 foot, because that's the width of the table, I would cut into all of the pieces that I needed. So this one being only one portion of it, I wanted to keep the slab intact as much as possible for some of the additional pieces for down the road for this project, for some of the chairs and benches and stuff. So I cut part way with the track saw on this one, the 4-foot length, and I went to a point. And then what I did was I came through with the jigsaw, because obviously when you only go partway through a board with your track saw, you've got that 1/4 circle portion that it has cut out into.
Yeah.
So I cut up and got even to that on that portion, and then I came through on the side to basically match up with that corner with the jigsaw. So I got that portion out. I got it face jointed and planed, so it can go with the rest of the boards now. And I did go through that stack of boards and made sure I kept the book match pieces together, so that I still have to thickness all of those, and then so that they're all down to the same thickness, because I need to do that last board just to make sure that it wasn't like super thin compared to the other ones. So eventually I'll thickness all of these, and then I'll start cutting them to dimension, and then we'll start getting the top actually made on that one. And then the other project that I have ongoing right now is for a batched out set of serving trays that are going to be made out of cherry. So I think I had mentioned this one previously, but I had gotten the material for it, which most of it ended up being 14-inch wide cherry, which my jointer gives me 12 and an 1/8 inch width, and my planer is 13 inches. So I am ripping the width to be 12 inches on those, so then I can feed them through and face joint. So I've got a few of them face jointed and planed. So I just need to batch out and do more of those for those cherry boards, because I have to churn out 26 of those if my memory serves me correctly. So I'll be doing a lot of that this week. And then one other thing that I did downstairs to kind of help with that, because I'm working with so much like volume of material is I set up several shelves downstairs, because I had some spots where I was just like leaning a bunch of like scrap lumber or other things up, and it just wasn't good utilization of space. So I had finally set up these. The footprint is, I think it's 18 inches by like 4 foot, maybe 20 inches by 4 foot, roughly. And then it's about 6 foot high, with 4 shelves on there. So that's what I'm doing with all of that wood, is keeping it into a spot where it's not taking up the workbench. So it moves the lumber around a little bit more, but I've got more space to move it around, so then I can move on to the next operation, whether it's for either of those projects. Because when I'm running my jointer and my planer, I don't like to run them like all day, just one of them, because they're not technically in that like category of like made to be run 24/7. So I don't want to wear them out, because they're not on that professional level, to lack of a better term, when it comes to those types of machines. Because usually what I'll do is like I'll joint some boards in like the beginning of a milling session with the jointer, and then go through and run them on the planer, and then I'll have another batch of boards that I'll run through on the jointer, and so I kind of alternate between the jointer and the planer, instead of being like, because the other thing too is that when I'm running on that jointer, there's a lot more physical, like keeping stuff down, like you're straining a lot more, so that does tire out my arms a little bit more, to make sure that like stuff is in contact with the machine.
Right.
Yeah. So I had gotten a total of 4 sets of those shelves. I have set up 2 of them. One of them's next to me here in the garage, and I'm probably not going to get till this one for a little while. And I think the third one, I just have to clean out one other corner of that space before I can put that one up, and that'll help keep my ground clear, because tripping hazards are probably like the biggest issue when it comes to like making sure that there's enough space in the shop, because you're like stepping over things and going around stuff because you've got material everywhere. So trying to help my future self a little bit by doing that. And then I am also doing a few other things around the house too. We've been, since my 3D printers have not been doing a whole lot of stuff for like markets, I haven't been running them nearly as much. And so we've been printing a little bit of stuff around the house. One of them being the snow shovel that I have. Like, I leave it on the front porch, and on one windy day, it just like got blown over, and the handle just like cracked in half when it hit the front porch. Which I don't know why the person who did our house or refurbished it or whatever they did chose tile for the front porch, is like a hard surface that can easily become slick. But anyway, I found out that handle, it's like it goes over top the body of the shovel, for lack of a better term, the bar or whatever. It's one of those ones that's kind of like S-shaped for more ergonomics. So you put that on the end, and then you have a screw that goes through a hole on that handle, like fix it into place. So I've printed a new handle out of Black Pet G, which I just found the file on Maker World, and I need to unscrew the old portion of the other handle and then just screw on that new handle, and I should be good to go. So I'm hopeful that works well, because I don't have to buy another shovel, because I honestly need to get an actual like snowblower at some point, but I have such high aspirations for a snowblower that I'm like, I'm not going to get the like intermediate thing. I need the thing that's got like a 2-stage snowblower. Like, what's this single stage stuff? I need all the features.
Well, you should just get the robot one.
Which
Have you
one is
seen
that
these
one?
yet? It looks like the robot lawnmowers, but it's a robot, snowblower.
Is it the ones that like push and have a shovel on the front, or is it like, have you seen
It's
the
like
little, is it the little Japanese one that
basically
like collects the snow and like makes blocks and poops them out?
No, I haven't seen that. That sounds awesome.
I'm pretty sure that's a thing. I think that I remember seeing that like maybe a year or 2 ago.
I would not be surprised it was a thing. That would be so cool, though. I want that. I could just build a snow fort around my house during the snow. I mean, not like we get snow, but if I live somewhere that got snow, I would have that.
Yeah. So anyway, that was one thing that I made for that, keeping that snow shovel alive. Because God knows I can't spare the money to, buy another shovel, even though that would probably be
In
a
the
good idea.
$20. Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably a $40 shovel because it's like the ergonomic handle and everything. But
Ooh, fancy.
anyway, I also just had to 3D print. If you have the kind of flagpoles that are like mounted on the side of the house that are like,
Yeah.
they're like the 4-foot long ones that you have. Like, I mean, they've got 2 different heights, so you can technically do
that
like
little
half
bracket.
mast. Yeah.
Yeah.
The bracket's fine. It's the rings that are on the pole itself that broke.
Mhm.
So I printed some of those. I have not. We're pretty sure we got the sizing right on that one. So, I need to slip that onto that flagpole and make sure that that fits. But if it does, I should be in business there to do another set of those because we have 2 of them. Because usually what my wife likes to do is so our porch has a couple of like brick columns. It's kind of I think bungalow is the correct term for type of house because it's like a 1920s house, I think. And so on each side, we have one of those flag things mounted. So one, we just do the American flag. And on the other side, we do like a seasonal kind of flag. So like something that's for like fall or winter or something like that. And since both of those had actually broken those little snap collar rings, if this 3D print fits properly, I should be able to do another set of them and get both of those back in operation. So I think that's everything that I've been up to lately here. Not quite as extensive of a list. I have been sick a little bit the past week. I've got the whatever that flu is that has been extra nasty to people.
So you say you've been breaking your immune system?
Yes, specifically my sinuses.
Fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it.
Oh,
You should fix it.
I should just get hopped up on cold medicine. I'm at the stage right now, like, whenever I get sick with that type of, like, either head cold or flu or whatever it is, it's like, it starts with the sinuses and, like, the headache and stuff. And then once that starts to subside, you kind of get, like, the drainage down the throat. And then it's like, you're, like, coughing stuff for a while. So I'm at, like, the coughing stage right now with things, although it's not quite as bad at the moment. So if you see me angling my face off camera, you'll probably know what I'm coughing out my lungs. But
well, what have you been breaking other than your immune system this week?
So I can't remember if I had mentioned that the first sale at that Christmas market where I tried to do my point of sale, it like screwed up royally. Somehow I had like created it as like a draft sale. So it like did the like pending charge on the person's card, but it didn't actually go through on my end. So I've been trying to like figure it out. I've kind of been periodically texting them to like figure out what it's like on their end to make sure that I'm not double charging them. Which is, it sucks because the rest of it all worked like seamlessly and perfect. So I didn't want to like message them a bunch on like holidays and stuff. So that's why I haven't been so like aggressive with trying to get it done right away. But I think I'll be able to just cancel whatever that transaction is. And then I think I technically have to like do another like draft order in order to send them just like a link where they enter in their card information, just because that's easier for everyone. Because then I don't have to like call and have them read off the numbers and enter it in and whatever. Because I mean, God knows I don't want to talk to anyone on the phone. I would prefer a link to enter stuff in and not talk to people. So I will put into the work. Yeah, I definitely prefer that way of doing things. And then the other thing that I had some issues with here lately was the AMS system on my P1S was having this weird like jamming issue, which it's not the first time that it's happened, but it's kind of weird because I don't know exactly what malfunctioned because I was finishing out a roll of filament and the run out sensing on the original AMS is finicky at best. I know they have the AMS Pro 2 or whatever they call it now out, which is probably better at that. And honestly, even the AMS Lite is better about the filament run out, like refilling if you've got another spool of an identical filament. So I just let it run out and then I let it stop and then I just put a new spool on. When I put my spool on, it would only go basically to the stage where before it actually puts the filament out to the PTFE tube that actually exits the AMS. So somewhere in there it was jamming for whatever reason. So I had again disassembled the AMS to look there inside and see if there's any issue, and I didn't find any issue. Because there's technically a couple of those like gears that are right at the back end of that AMS. That's the spot where it was catching. After I had taken it out and then manually fed through, because there's like a little push button that you have to basically disengage those gears from pulling the filament through, and then I could pull the filament through just fine. And then after that, it worked okay. So I don't know if I got a little bit of filament in there that got stuck or other debris, but that's not the first time that it hasn't happened. Like it's always been this particular AMS unit that I've had the issue with, because I've got 2 AMS units connected to that printer, and it's always been the top AMS unit that has had issues like jamming and switching over. So I don't know if maybe I just need to like clean that those like gear extruder things, but they're not as accessible as like the little gear extruders that pull through the filament right at the nozzle head, because those are easy to pop out and like clean, relatively speaking. Whereas this one is a little bit, it's a few more steps to get to it, and even then it's not as accessible. So I might need to watch some instructional videos on how to like deep clean that stuff. So that's all I've been breaking.
For me, again, not been in the shop, so really not doing much. I've already completed one of my goals that we set in the last episode. I replaced my office chair. So now,
how about that?
Listen to this. I'm moving around. You can't hear anything. It's great.
I want to see you like going like full bore, like in and out of screen, just like rolling on the chair, going back and forth.
I don't have that good of rollers. Yeah. But yeah, it's been nice. So I have the other one off to the side here. I need to take to the dump to get out of it. And it's funny. I posted this chair is a good representation of the last 6 years, because I've had it for 6 years since COVID started. And it's like torn up, scratches, missing a wheel, bent to the one side. Like it's bad. So
yeah.
So I got that taken care of, and then I recently have just decided I'm just getting rid of my 3D printer. I'm going to give it away or something because it sucks.
Are you going to give it a Viking funeral?
I should. I really should, because I hate it so much.
Here's what you do. You take some kind of flammable liquid and just douse the nozzle head, and then just turn the heat up all the way on the nozzle head so it self-combusts, and then it just takes itself out.
Yeah. I should. Now, so my tattoo artist, his wife is the piercer for the shop, and she has this exact same unit that she does 3D printing with, and she likes it, and it works great for her. So maybe she's figured it out and the quirks of it. I don't know. I don't want to take the time. I really love the idea of 3D printing, and I really want to do it, but I just feel like I don't have enough time to put into it. So, and it feels like everyone who has a bamboo just says it works. Like these enders, they don't just work. There's a lot of crap that you have to do with it. And I just feel like, I don't know. So I'm going to get rid of it. I'm done with it.
Good for you.
So long. AOL, goodbye.
I went to the Von Trapp goodbye farewell song.
Yes. So long, farewell. We're gonna get demonetized. Not that we are anyway. So yeah, that's all I've been breaking. So what we've been watching this week, I'll kick off the first one. I'm going to self-promote here and I'm going to say my YouTube channel, because I released the big Next Wave video, so I can finally talk about, yes, they did launch a whole new generation of products. I'm super excited about them. Go check out my video. You can see behind the scenes about the company, and then about how they take all that input they get from customers and make a new generation of products. And they're really cool. And there's still some other things they haven't announced yet that I know are coming. So it's a really good time to be a Next Wave customer if you're looking for a CNC. So I'm excited. That's my first one.
Yes, I did watch that video, and it was very well done. So kudos to you on that one. All right, first one that I have is Tiff at Night Carver Designs. So she, speaking of CNCs, so she CNC'd out a image of Prince Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah.
And so she had then painted it and then put a spot on the bottom of this wall art for the person who voices the character to sign it for them at a convention. So she had started this project, I think, a couple months ago, and then I think the convention was fairly recent, and they were she's got her family with her husband and kids, and so they went as a whole family unit to go and do that. So she has a pretty good she had a couple of videos, one that was more about like building it, and then one where it's like the full journey of like building it as well as going to have it signed by that person. So that one was very, very well done.
Nice. I actually did something similar for a client once. She asked me, she was going to a supernatural convention, and so the show Supernatural, and I made a wooden plaque for them, and then it had carved out area for where the name Supernatural and the car that they use, but then a carved out area for where everybody could sign, because she was going to get the whole cast to sign.
Nice.
It's so cool when you do that. Like she had told me afterwards, like they were super excited about it, because it's whenever you see something custom like that, like it's not a picture they're signing anymore. It's something really cool. So they get excited about it too. So
yeah. What did you, so that I'm assuming that they signed that with a Sharpie on the one that you had, right?
Yeah. And then we did a spray lacquer to finish it over it to keep the Sharpie from fading away.
Okay. I was going to ask you what you did. Did you leave it, that portion, unfinished? They signed it and then you did spray lacquer on top? Okay.
Yep, absolutely. And we used silver Sharpie so that it'll look good against the walnut backing. So.
Ooh, nice.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then my next one is not woodworking or metal or anything related. This is embroidery. So this artist is at Embroidery by Nusk, which is Nusk. I'm sorry if I said it wrong, but Embroidery by Nusk. Man, if you go and look this up, it is incredible. It is a vibrant night sky embroidery, just on a 5-inch or 6-inch circle. But it is super vibrant, northern lights across the top. There's a house below with some rocks next to an ocean. This is probably the most realistic embroidery thing I've ever seen. I was just blown away when I saw it. So go check them out.
Nice. Next one that I have, so this is Joshua with an H at the end. So Joshua Taylor Woodworks. So they did a basically taking a tree from taking down the tree and milling it to a waterfall river table. So it was a walnut tree. So they did black, and then so they did the epoxy inlay, and then they did the miter cut in order to do the waterfall. And it was just very, very well executed. Like they put a very nice rounded edge on the waterfall section, and then they had another leg on the other side to support it. But I mean, obviously the river table, especially I'm losing my words again. Waterfall river table. It's been done a lot of times, but as you see things done more, sometimes it's executed not as good as others, and this is definitely one of the ones that is done very, very well. So kudos to Joshua.
Nice. My next one is from Miss White Judith Art, and that's Judit, Judith. She's over in Spain, and actually this was sent to me from my wife, because my wife is a big avid reader, and she's looking at like bookshelves and stuff that she's wanting me to make. And this is a different take on a live edge bookshelf. Instead of having the live edge portion be just the straight shelf across, what this person ended up making was standard lumber as the shelves, and then using a live edge piece of olive wood as almost a backer at one point, so it looks like a branch is going up the wall. It is gorgeous looking. The olive wood is my favorite wood, so it's got so much character and figure to it. It's gorgeous, but it's definitely a unique take on a live edge bookshelf. So I thought it looked really organic and natural, which was nice.
Nice. Yeah, I can't remember. I think I've seen olive wood in person, but I don't think I've actually used it before. So how much have you played around with olive wood?
I've got quite a bit, actually, because we had a few years ago drove to California where they basically just burn it for firewood, and I bought a whole bunch of firewood and then milled up like little short charcuterie board style boards. So I have a whole bunch of it that's currently drying. So I use it occasionally for smaller items like clocks or cribbage boards, that kind of stuff.
Well, yeah, because it's not a particularly large tree, so the pieces
Correct.
that you're getting are not super wide. Because like getting a 6-inch wide board is probably pretty generous for olive wood, right?
Actually, I'd say the largest ones I have, because they took out the tree, it wasn't just the branches, they took out the trunk. The trunk was about 14 inches. But that is an old tree, so that had been there quite some time.
Well, and they don't grow particularly straight usually, right?
No, they don't, which is why you get a lot of cool figure and everything. And usually most people will use them with epoxy because you really don't get good lumber out of it. So you're basically adding some epoxy to fill in those voids because there's a lot of them.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's par for the course with really figured wood, is that there's going to be voids and whatnot. I mean, sometimes you get curly wood that stays pretty solid, but that's, it's not always the case. So cool.
Correct.
Last one that I have is David over at David Beckwith Makes. And so he created a Christmas present that is it's like a regular X-ray, like dental X-ray, where it's got like the full set of teeth on those.
Oh, cool.
And he made a light box for it. So it's really deep. It's like 6 maybe 8 inches deep. So it's really deep. And he also has it set up so that you can actually change the color of the backlighting on it to be whatever color that you want. And then I don't know exactly what wood that he used for the frame of this, but he did do some nice splines on all of the miters of that, which I love a good spline added to a frame. So
yes,
good job, David.
My last one would be Russ Woodworking, and this is actually spelled R-U-I-S, but I believe it's pronounced Russ. He makes the Bacosaurus. So this is a T-Rex shaped oven puller.
Yes.
Very simple. He batches these out. I believe he makes them all on the bandsaw. But man, it's adorable, and it's such a cool, easy seller. He sells them all year round. This is like the Bacosaurus is his original idea and thing. But yeah, I just found it the other day, and I was like, this is such a great idea to do like a T-Rex oven puller. And then it made me think, what else could I do? Could I do like a Bart Simpson oven puller, or like just other themed items that people would really gravitate to? So I've been making the juices flowing in my head.
If it's a Bart Simpson one, it definitely has to be his butt cheeks pulling it, with him like pulling it down his butt cheeks.
That's exactly what I thought. I was like, the Eat My Shorts comment. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Or the, no, that one wouldn't work. I have seen people who have done, I think it's squirrels. So like you hold on to the tail of the squirrel, and then you've got the like either the head of the squirrel or like the front
Or their
arms
little
for
arms.
to hold on to the actual oven rack to pull it out. So yeah, those are kitchen items are a lot of fun.
They are there. You can be creative and keep it simple at the same time, which is why I mean that's the majority of what I sell. So I really enjoy it. All right, our main topic tonight is all about lights, camera, action, making content. So I figured we'd just go discussion-wise on this one. I know we both have actually, I think, pretty similar, but maybe start with, the beginner. What do you start as a beginner for making content? What does making content look like to you, Alex, I should say?
Yeah, so I kind of tried to categorize this into the like beginner, intermediate, and expert, for a lack of a better term, because I don't think there's anything wrong with each of these levels that I'm trying to outline. I think they just have a different aesthetic to them, and I don't think it needs to necessarily be difficult to reach any of these particular segments, if you will, because I think the most important thing is that you are capturing something that you can actually put out there. And I mean,
Absolutely.
a lot of times when we think content creation, like at least for me, I immediately think videos. But don't shortchange yourself, because you can still have good content with just really good pictures. It's probably not going to lend itself too well to YouTube, since it's pretty much just a video platform. But if you're on other platforms, if you're just getting started out, it can be easier to get pictures just because you've got time to like stage it. You don't have to set stuff up and get different camera angles with like the video, and it's a little bit more accessible in terms of like input and output. Like I've got one picture that's good enough, I can post it. So when it comes to even just getting started in that kind of beginner category, if you will, anything that you have access to for pictures or video. I mean, honestly, I still use my iPhone all of the time, and a lot of people use their iPhones. Some use standalone DSLR cameras, but you don't have to go that route necessarily. But I would say frictionless is what I encourage, just to make it easy on yourself.
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing I've heard over and over again. The few years I've been to Workbench Con, everyone says the same thing: just get started, set a schedule, stick to it, and get started. When I first started my Instagram journey, I was doing my little sanding thoughts with Duffy Woodcraft, and I did one a week, and I just pumped them out, and that's what I was doing to start with. And I was just filming those with my cell phone propped up, still filming me sanding, and then I did a voiceover with my microphone and edited inside of edits for Instagram and kicked it out. Like there are so many easy ways to get started, and so just starting, and then you'll get I always say you'll get professional as you go. You're gonna grow the longer you do it. It's like any skill. It's like anything. You can't just sit down on a piano and play Mozart. You have to practice and learn. It's the same thing with making content. You're going to practice and learn. If you look at my videos from a year ago to now, there's a drastic difference in quality. And I've been told that a lot recently by a few other people, that my production quality has gone up quite a bit. And I've made some choices as I've been able to invest into it that helps, but just get started and you'll grow as you grow. Like don't be afraid to just put something out there. And I think that's a big hurdle for a lot of people.
Well, and I mean, I had the same kind of hesitancy, and what I started off with was doing a lot of stories, because it's temporary. If it sucks, it's only there for 24 hours. If it's great, you can turn it into a reel or a post or whatever. So you can utilize that attribute if the platforms that you're on have that feature to start with that. And it can be as simple as posting a picture of something that you're working on, or it can be video of what you're working on. I mean, if you're a little bit camera shy and don't want yourself in the shots, you don't have to have that. You can warm yourself up to that. I mean, there's plenty of stuff that you can do other than that to create a lot of content. And one thing that I will say that will help out a lot is having, and this is speaking again from just using my phone a lot, is I actually have a phone case that has a little kickstand built into it. And it's not only just like a regular kickstand that gets it in the like portrait and landscape mode, but it can adjust like how much it's angled. So I can set it on a shelf in my shop and angle it down to get the shot that I want, or I can set it on the bench next to what I'm doing to get like a close-up shot. You can also get super cheap tripods. If it's a lot easier sometimes to set up a tripod in a spot if you don't have a shelf or some surface to set it on. So just getting your camera to the spot where it can like take the picture or the video, because a lot of what I did and what I still do a lot of is just a lot of like time-lapse video. That's like probably one of the simplest things you can do, is just set up a camera, hit record. You're doing something, you can shorten it down to 10 or 20 seconds or however long that you want to show the progression of whatever it is you're working on. And it's a super easy way to just get started and have something with it.
And I'm going to do a little show and tell here as we start talking, which is, so I used to just do photography. So I started, and as you can see on the camera, I'm showing off my Canon D80 I've got a bigger battery pack in it. It's got a tripod mount. But you don't have to start here like this. You just start with a cell phone is great. But I use this primarily actually now as a second camera angle because the best investment I made in the last couple of years was I purchased the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, which I'm showing on the screen right now. This little guy makes filming so easy. And so if you're looking at making an investment, I would recommend one of these guys, because as I turn it on here, and you can see on the video, I am now filming in vertical mode, and boop, there I am now in, there goes software. Now I'm in horizontal mode. So I can film 3K in vertical and 4K in horizontal. And it's just flipping the screen changes the resolution and the format. I really like that. Plus it's on a gyro, which makes everything go a little bit more stable. And because of that, I also have a little touch wheelie. I can do pans and tilts and everything with the gyro. And as you were saying, with the cheap, like little stands, it comes with this really cute little standard tripod. I have to have the attachment on it that goes onto it. And what that does is it allows me just to screw on a tripod, and then I've got my little 3 legs and I can stand it up. It also is just a standard tripod mount, so I can put this on my Canon mount. And the other reason why I really liked it is it came with if you buy the creator pack, which I would highly recommend, it comes with a microphone as well. So it comes with a lav microphone that then is wireless to the camera. And I've actually recently, because of my Next Wave video, and since I was traveling, I bought a second microphone, a DJI microphone. So I've got 2 now, because this guy can take 2 sources. So I was able to be wearing this while I was doing interviews and have my interviewee wear one at the same time. So it was capturing both of our audio without having to do a boom.
And now that's A-roll style video where you're interviewing someone. And then what I was talking about is generally referred to as B-roll, which is like process shots of like basically like a third person view where it can be like sped up or whatever. Cause like, I mean, I honestly don't really do a whole lot of A-roll footage. Like I do mostly B-roll footage, and sometimes I'm throwing on a voiceover on a project. Like one of them that I did that's a nice voiceover is when I did the little BB tray for my son. I went through the progression of like each of the operations that I went through, and I just did a voiceover with my phone to narrate that. And I mean, I did a couple of things where I just like put a couple of fleece blankets around it to kind of like catch some of that extra noise around the phone, but it was good enough for what I needed. So you can get by pretty easily when you're just starting. Excuse me.
Yeah,
And
I
one
would
thing
say
that I will
the
say,
setup I was discussing is more of the intermediate
right,
setup.
yeah, because we just get so excited about stuff and wanting to show our new gadgets because we're very proud of them.
Yeah.
I know, it's so fun. But one thing that I think that will definitely help out is getting just light in the area where you are filming. I'm not saying that you have to immediately jump to like special ring lights or different types of like studio lighting where you've got like the giant globe thing or like diffuser panels and stuff like that. I'm just talking about just getting pure light in there so you can even see stuff on camera. Because if you can't really see it or the lighting is not enough that you can't even see what you're actually doing, it's kind of defeating the purpose. So like if you're just getting like if you've got a shop space where if you're doing it like actually in the shop where you're filming, I mean there's easily like 20 or 30 bucks to get, you know, some of those overhead LED lights that just plug into a normal outlet and you can switch on and off. You can put them all on the same circuit if you want, but just getting light in your shop so you can actually see everything helps out
Correct.
significantly. You don't have to, I wouldn't necessarily worry about all of the, you know, different types of lightings and angles right away. You'll definitely get to that stage, but just being able to see everything is where you want to be initially. And I think that's most of the stuff that I had, at least in my kind of like beginner, just get started and just getting something posted. Cause you don't have to like edit anything super, rigorous or any particular way because it just kind of depends on your style. Cause like editing your video, you can do it on your phone within the app that you are posting in. I like to use CapCut, which is a free software for doing voiceovers and doing effects like speeding up and slowing down video footage.
Yeah, and I will suggest inside of CapCut, inside of edits, and then the other one that I use is called Filmora. I actually use that one because it was suggested by Bourbon Moth. That's the app he uses to edit all of his videos for the first like 10 years of his YouTube journey.
I could have swore there was another app that he had occasionally used, but the name of it is escaping me.
Yeah. But inside of all those apps, there is a podcast filter that you can add to your voiceover. I do recommend that. It does make it takes away a lot of the background noises. It lowers your voice a little bit. It just makes it sound that it adds that professional sound, which all of my content on YouTube, everything, I run it through a podcast filter just to make it sound a little bit nicer and a little bit more richer. And that will, especially on social media, every second of audio counts because you get if people hear bad audio, they're going to flip away immediate. Most people will forgive bad video if they are listening to something that's good quality. So there's something to keep in mind. That would be an easy thing to fix on the beginner side.
Yeah, and things that you can do for that, like you can your devices can do a lot to make use of audio, but just making sure that you, like, if you've got fans or other stuff running in the background, if it's like because I've got some air filters and stuff that I occasionally have on. I also have the HVAC downstairs with me in my shop. So if I'm filming something that I'm actually doing a voiceover on where I'm like describing something, usually it's just for like a pretty quick reel. Sometimes I'll just turn off the fan on the HVAC just to make sure that like that's enough that you can hear it pretty darn good. And I'm just using the audio from the phone itself to post. But honestly, most of the time, if I'm doing any type of audio for me, it's usually a voiceover and I'm just doing it after the fact, recording with my phone. Because even the podcast mic that I have right here, I don't use it for voiceovers at all because it's not a particularly high-end podcasting mic. So the difference in quality, like he had said, where you've got basically the auto enhance features, whatever they are, and whatever software you have, to me, the distinguishment between those two is close enough that I'm going to take the route that's easier for me to make something and push it out. So I think ease of use is kind of the theme of when I suggest getting stuff started. Just make it easy for you, because it's going to enable you to make a lot more.
Yeah, and moving up to the intermediate section, a couple of things I would suggest. So if you've taken that first leap, you've created content, you've now started your beginner, now you're moving to intermediate. Some of the things I was just showing off, the cameras are a good option, multiple mics. So my studio light setup in my garage for my filming is a 5 light setup. And I spent less than $100 on it on Amazon. And it's basically 2 softbox key lights, which are the white lights. And I have them both at 45-degree angles. So they're both coming at me from 45 different degrees. I have one colored light that then is just a little square color LED that changes multiple colors. And I have that one turned to like purple. And that's facing me as well, just to add some color depth on my face. And then behind me, I have a blue and a green bar lights that just add some color behind me as well. So all of that, I spent less than $100, and it adds so much depth. If you've ever seen, besides my videos, like Suman is another creator on woodworking creator. His videos have a very unique style, and it's because he does one key light is white on his face and the other one is just purple. And so he has a very hard cut on his face of these light colors. But because of that, as soon as you start watching one of his videos, you know, hey, this is a Suman video, because you immediately see his style. So coming to making that next step to intermediate is coming up with whatever style you're going to make your videos, be more refined, but basically making your image that when somebody tunes in, they can go, oh, this is what I'm watching. I know I'm watching a Duffy video because, you know, it's crazy with aliens. Who knows? But it's just, you know, that's what you come to expect, the same thing when watching a creator.
Yeah, because at that stage, I'm thinking, okay, you've made enough videos that you kind of have some favorite angles, and you are upgrading them and making them better. So,
Right.
like for me, I went from just filming with a iPhone to adding a ring light to it, so that I had light that was coming to basically reduce shadows, because that's what you want, is to reduce shadows so you can actually see everything. Because that's, I mean, like, that's what generally separates crappy or okay photography from really good photography, is lighting. And if you have a picture where like you've got shadows all over people, it looks crappy. Like, you can instantly tell because you can't see your object that you're trying to highlight. And that's kind of what I touched on earlier, on like having light so that you don't have like those shadows and stuff. Whereas now we're kind of talking about like, okay, for this particular shot, if it's like, okay, like a shot that I do a lot is like, if I'm going over the jointer, like there's only so many angles that I can do that from. But if I know, hey, I'm doing more of like from the outfeed table and kind of looking kind of catty corner, this is how I set it up. This ring not camera. That would be weird to have a ring camera in my shop. But having the ring light in there, so I have enough light so I can see what's going on there. Because there are, even though I do have good lighting in my shop overhead, sometimes if I'm standing directly, you know, below one light or I'm between two, I still get a little bit of shadow on there. And I will say, if you do, because the ring light is good for that like direct light on whatever that object is. I'm not quite as advanced as Mr. Duffy with like multiple light sources. I try not to overcomplicate my stuff because I don't trust myself yet. But if you are getting a ring light, don't get the ones that are like the little 10-inch ring light, because those are made for like vlogging, like face right up against the camera. those don't have enough light to get much further than like right in front of you. So Mr. Duffy was just showing on his screen his little light that was about that size. So the one that I use, which outputs a lot more light, is they're generally in that like 18 to 20 inches ring light, which that's what I'm using right now as I'm filming. And I literally have it set to like 1% and it's super bright, and probably it washes me out maybe just like a little bit with the setup. I can probably do a little bit more with this, but it's okay enough right now that for what I want, I'm okay with it. But you also want to consider for some of those ring lights, if you have a cable running to power it, or if you want something with battery packs, because the one that I have that I'm running in the shop right now, it can do both. It can do batteries or a power source from the wall. And I've been getting accustomed to using the batteries and what the life is on those batteries. So that one, the brand that I have is Newer, something like that, Neweer. And I think the ring light that I got from them, which I don't remember the model number off the top of my head, but it's like in that ballpark of like $180, which does seem like a lot, but for that increase in lighting, like you're spending a little bit more budget for a little bit better production value. And it also depends on how you use it, but it can do batteries or line power, which is partially what makes it a little bit more expensive, because I think you can get ring lights of that size and that 18 to 20 inches for like under $100, where it includes like the tripod and everything. But sometimes it'll be like just line power, so just be aware of that for those lights. And then you might end up getting a couple of like dedicated tripods for particular shots, because like this ring light that I have for while we're recording the podcast, like it stays here. Like I don't move it, I just leave it there because the camera that I use for this is dedicated to it, so I just keep it there. And then I have a separate ring light that I walk around in the shop and use. And even now I'm considering going to it's like a flat base, so instead of the little like adjustable tripod legs on the bottom, it has a flat base so that you don't trip over the legs, which may or may not be a nice little addition. So I think the theme of this like intermediate level that we're talking about is doubling down on what it is you like to do, or that you actually do more often to make it better. You're upgrading it to make it easier. It's not about just getting it, it's about refining it a little bit more.
Yeah, and I would always say, if you can, like, save any of the your cameras or phones that you are going to get rid of, and use them as a second camera, because you can also then use them for some of the funkier, riskier things. I always, like you were using your example of your jointer, there's only so many angles you can do. Well, you could do an angle of the phone riding along the board as you push it along, so you're seeing it move across. I wouldn't do that with your main camera, because if something happens and it kicks back and the camera falls on the blade or whatever, who knows? Like, I wouldn't do that. But if you're using a second camera that you were going to throw out anyway, do an occasional funky shot here and there, and it keeps the interest going for the viewer, but it allows you to keep growing as a maker as well, or a content creator as well. So
yeah, and if you have a lot of repeat operation that you're doing, and you only have one camera, that's the time to experiment. Because if you are cutting or if you're jointing a bunch of boards, it's like, okay, I could do a couple at this angle, move the camera, do a couple at this angle, and maybe you like it, maybe you don't, but you might discover a new angle that you like that looks different, because sometimes having a different angle can catch someone's attention as they're scrolling by, or thumbnails or what have you, that at least make someone stop and actually watch. Because sometimes you don't have very long to get someone's attention, and sometimes a different camera angle can help you achieve that, because it's something potentially that they might recognize, but from a different angle, that makes them it pauses their brain a little bit and might confuse them a little bit to get their bearings on what they're actually seeing.
Yeah, and I would just say the next step going from, intermediate to expert is doing the exact same things that you did from beginner to intermediate. Is just continuing to refine what you're working on. And there are new techniques that you would then do. So in your video editing software, you could grade color so that every camera that you worked with all looks exactly the same. You can, work on that lighting, as we talked about, with more and more lights to do different type of lighting, but also you can remove some lights to maybe, if I say, for example, only used one key light and then all my colored lights, I would be a very harsh in depth with shadows. But there's lots of different things that you could do to then just keep refining and become quote unquote an expert, including, building a full-on studio as well. There are plenty of YouTube makers that, go and build full-on studios. I definitely have been doing that this last year of recreating my woodshop more for a YouTube studio than it is for a woodshop at this point. So, but and there's lots of people, if you look at like Mark from the Wood Whisperer and Jonathan Katz-Moses is another example. People who create, these stand-up walls that they are going to stand in front of and talk to the camera for your A-roll environment. That is the pristine location that you're looking at. So,
yeah, it's your think of it as like the news anchor, like the news desk. Like they've got their spot where they're talking, and then you've got like the field correspondent who's out in the thick of it, who's got their different angle, and it all looks different and everything like that. That's where the action is and everything. And you can pop between those. And I would also say on the expert level of stuff, it's, you're definitely starting to dive into more of those technical aspects of whatever equipment that it is that you do have for your, you've got your stuff that you do, and now you're optimizing it to the nth degree. Cause I would consider myself probably somewhere in more of the intermediate category rather than the expert category, because there's still things that I'm playing around with where it's like, I don't have multiple light source and I'm not playing with shadows quite as much. And so my video is not going to be like as consistent of repeating those specific light conditions where you're getting, say, a certain color temperature where it's like, oh, all of your videos are more of a warm temperature, and you're able to create that in whatever environment that you are, because that repeatability is where you really set yourself apart, I would say. Because like when you were doing the interviews with people at Next Wave, being able to set up in a completely different environment and be able to adjust the lights to make it probably look almost identical to any other place is a pretty, I would say, valuable skill set, because it creates that cohesiveness. It's not quite as visually jarring, because you're putting in the work to change between it.
Yeah, and you also show up with 4 different lights and cameras and stuff too, because you have to bring all that equipment with you. So
right, yeah. So you start going from, okay, you're beginning, it's like stuff that's probably under $100 to, on the intermediate, now you're getting stuff that's like in the couple $100, and then when you start getting more lights, your budget for the video production or photography or whatever it is that you're doing, you start putting in a little bit more, and then you're in the maybe hundreds to even thousands, depending on how intense you want to get with your video production setup, which, I mean, the sky's the limit. I mean, there's
professional video studio lights are in the thousands easily, but is honestly, in today's world, especially with the color correction the camera does automatically for you, not to mention what you can do in post on editing software, like just getting some light from something, and preferably something that you can change the light color on, so it's not blue light, it's more of that warmer light, the lower temperature light. Blue is higher, warm is lower, but you can getting some kind of light. And on, like I said, on Amazon, the softbox lights are so inexpensive these days. So it's really an easy thing to get.
Yeah, and if you're in any type of software that has like an autocorrect on it, that's probably going to be leaps and bounds above what you get just off the shelf.
Right.
Because you don't have to necessarily like get into like the super advanced settings to make slight changes that make it better. But once you start doing enough of it, you can start playing around with some of those settings because you have done it enough that you know, oh yeah, if I adjust this in this type of environment, by that experience, you get accustomed to what it is that you need to do to accomplish it, where it's like, oh yeah, what always astounds me is outdoor filming and video and getting consistent results there, because that's the really tough environment because of, you know, you don't necessarily know what you're going to get for, you know, sunlight and everything. Because that's the other thing too, is that I also make it easy on myself because all the windows to my shop are closed off because I put insulation on them because they're old windows and they're terrible for that. But it also provides a benefit to me because then my lighting is like basically always consistent in my shop because I don't have any natural light that's actually coming in. It would be nice to have natural light, but I'm okay with it. It also makes it so that no matter what time of day it is, it always looks the same in that shot. Mm-hmm. So, well, that's mostly what I had on that, like, beginner, intermediate, and expert. And then we already kind of jumped a little bit into equipment, but maybe we can jump in there a little bit more on either stuff that we use or things to suggest. Because we had already mentioned before, you know, your phone camera is a great starting point just because it's good enough in most scenarios. And I do what Mr. Duffy had mentioned before of keeping hold of older phones and using them to record video, because it started as whenever I needed to upgrade, or when I needed is probably a strong term, but when I upgraded phones, I kept the previous phone for, you know, if the current phone was, you know, if it fell in a puddle and got ran over by a car and it was dead, I had another phone that I could at least have in the meantime. And so having that on hand, I've got a couple of extra phones between my wife and myself that I use to get a couple of different camera angles. And it becomes almost a little bit of a challenge to remember which phone you recorded which footage on.
Yeah.
But I can share between them pretty easily.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, I do have my my Canon camera, my DJI that I use. I also have the Meta glasses as well for a third camera point of view. I don't use these a lot. I use these more from like my my standing thought videos, and a few other times I'll use it for other point of view. And the reason why is they have a weird, because they're from your, you know, point of view, it is a little weird. It's jarring for the viewer. So I don't want to use it all the time or as a main secondary, though I've seen plenty of people who this is their only content that they do. And especially on like TikTok, for example, there's a lot of just POV TikTok content. And so that comes from these glasses or another wearable.
Yeah, and I'm probably going to get some of those Meta glasses because I do better when I have multiple angles to just play around with and utilize. So I know those will probably come in handy, especially if I screw something up and then I've got a mistake and I've got it on camera. It's easier to capture that stuff because you don't have to, like, it's a little bit more seamless. Like there's no setup, there's no tripod, there's no, you know, there's less friction to just hit record and go, right?
I will say my biggest complaint about these are that it is a weird format because it is a I think it's a 3x2 format, but in the vertical format. So it is a little weird, though it does shoot 2K. So you can edit it down to be in like horizontal format or landscape format with 1080p.
Because yours is the first gen version, right?
Right, the first gen. No, these are the second gen.
Oh, they are. Okay.
Yeah, these are the second gen. And the other complaint I have with them is the recording is limited to 3 minutes per clip. So after
really?
3 minutes, then you have to restart the recording again. That's the maximum length that they allow currently, which I don't personally understand. Like you should just be able to tap it on and off. Maybe it's a flash memory thing. I don't know. Like, but they've got plenty of
probably the case, because I remember.
Yeah.
This is way back when I was using a bunch of GoPro cameras for a whole other endeavor, and what it would do is it would save as a certain file size and save it on the SD card, and instead of being one continuous video, they would be, depending on what your resolution was, it would just be however much file storage you could get in that. And that was the length of the clip. Like, it was always like the same amount of time on that clip, and then you just had to stitch them together in post. So that's, I guess that's probably what it is, because there's a lot of RAM shortages right now going on, making stuff expensive.
Yeah. And then for my main camera, I also then have a plug-in shotgun mic, which then, or not for my main camera, for my secondary camera for the Canon. So I use this as a secondary audio source, so that if for some reason I forget to turn the lav on or something, I've got another backup for the audio versus that I can hopefully salvage the shot if it's a one-time shot. So
yeah, and there's, I mean, and I know for me personally, I don't have any intention of doing a lot of that like A-roll footage. So for me, I haven't even set up an environment for that. So the type of recording equipment that you're talking about you don't necessarily need it. If I'm not doing that type of recording, I don't need that equipment at this particular stage. Because probably for a lot of people, even if you're doing like a talking head type thing, you can get away with the phone camera if you're close enough to it, but you got to be in like the same spot and probably relatively close. But with, like you were saying, with the lavalier mic, which is the one that gets pinned to you, it's basically been Rode and DJI have their respective wireless mics, which I can't remember. They've had another generation of those since I've last looked at them. But I think there is
another brand that I do recommend, actually. And I'm going to pull it up real quick. You can buy it on Amazon again. Everything's on Amazon. But I was using it before I had the DJI, so I actually still have them as well. And where are they? Oh, it's Synco, SYNCO. They're the exact same format that the DJI mics are. So the if you see it on the screen, there are these little rectangle microphones that you see everybody has. They also have a plug-in, so you can do the hidden or on the shirt if you wanted. But they're for a set of 3 mics, they're $76. So it is a pretty entry level price for a mic that sounds really good. So,
and does that one is that one more for a setup that hooks into like a DSLR, or does it have like a Bluetooth or Wi-Fi connection to phones?
It is a DSLR plug-in or an 1/8 inch plug-in. So if you have an older phone that has an 1/8 inch,
or if you have a dongle,
you can get
adapter.
Yeah, a dongle adapter. Yep.
Yeah, so you can, I mean, and again, that's stuff that's for that like A-roll where you're like talking to the camera. If you're doing just like, if you've got separate footage that's rolling and you're just doing a voiceover over it, you don't necessarily need this stuff. Although it would bump up your audio quality, because you could still use that for voiceover. The gap just isn't quite as much between those two, because if you're just talking with your phone in front of you, because the video came from somewhere else, you can control that environment. It's when you're like moving around and you're in a different environment that kind of falls apart, and you need something like a lavalier mic or shotgun mic, like you had mentioned, that's with the camera getting the audio. Oh, let's see.
Yeah.
And then let's see. We talked about the tripods and like the ring light cameras a decent amount already. We already kind of touched on software where we said that, like, I mean, you can find editing software either within the platform that you're in or just as a download as an app, or if you want to go to software that's actually on your computer. I honestly try and limit doing stuff on the computer just because it doesn't really jive with my workflow. Most everything is on my phone, and so I try and do it on my phone just because it's easier. I can get to it whenever, and with my mind going a million different places, more steps means more stops with distractions along the way, so I'm less likely to finish it. So I just know myself.
As a for YouTube, I edit everything on my computer, so I'm using Adobe Premiere Pro. So
well, and you have a much higher fit and finish level than I'm trying to output that you're doing.
Right, absolutely.
So,
again, intermediate level versus the beginner level. And yeah.
Right, yeah. So and then sometimes that it does require the like using the hopping on the computer for that stuff. I remember,
and it's also what I was trained in. Like, is that because I went to college for video production? Like, that's what I was trained in. So it becomes easy at this point.
It reminds me of I think it was a reel where someone was like, yeah, when you're a millennial, there's certain things that you do on the phone, but like, you know, big adulting things that you do that you need to do like on the big screen, like on the laptop, where it's like purchasing airline tickets, like that's a big screen activity versus like a phone activity.
It is.
Where it's like you just like there's something about
you feel
doing
like you
it
gotta go to the computer. Yeah.
Yeah, you have more control, you have more, you know, it feels more formal. It's
it feels like you're not going to make a mistake as easy as clicking on with your thumb.
Yeah, you've got a little more power to work with, more things at your disposal to use more features. And then I think I mentioned camera angles a little bit, but I mean, camera angles and lighting are, I mean, that's a whole other discussion. Like there's a couple of things that you had mentioned where you're talking like key lights and other things where it's like there's, I don't know how many different terms for different types of lighting to your environment, because there's like, because I know that there's
a whole show on lighting.
Yeah, because it's like because you see I've seen plenty of posts with them where it's like there's someone where it's their face and they're lighted from basically like all different directions, and you're messing with where the shadows are to get a different look. Because it's like if you've got the like light on the top versus like light coming up from the bottom, where it's like that light coming up from the bottom gives you like a spookier like story at the campfire type mood. And you can just do so much stuff with lighting just based on changing the direction that it's hitting your face or hitting your workpiece. And I like to play around with my camera angles a lot, just because that's an easy way to change and reframe the video and re-engage the person. Because let's see, probably one of my like, and this is also a testament to like you don't need a super fancy like setup to get engaging content. Like right now, my most viewed content is me flattening my router sled, which was literally just me setting my phone up high and looking down on the entire router sled, and it's just a time lapse of me flattening the router sled. And for the time lapse, I think it was maybe like 30 or so seconds, and I was like, 30 seconds of just looking at this is people can trail off a little bit. And I had taken video from different angles, like from the side and from the bottom and all this stuff. So I had mixed in a couple of different, I think just one, maybe two other angles. And there was a familiarity with it where it like, a lot of people think it looks like I was working on like a deck or something like that. So there's that like familiarity, but I'm doing something different that kind of like makes them look at it and say, what are you doing? Because that video right now, I think has like around 850,000 views or something like that. And it's just me flattening my router sled. So like even things that are mundane, like basic maintenance stuff can be interesting to people because it's different, and maybe it's from a different angle, because like I know some people are like, oh yeah, I've seen these videos of farriers shoeing horses, and they're just mesmerized by it because they haven't seen it before. So it's a completely new experience, like something that you have not seen before that makes you pause and stop. So I'll do a lot of like low angles or high angles, or like a, you know, overhead views, just to look at something from a different perspective, because you have that familiarity with something, but then you rotate it, and then it's interesting enough that it can keep the person from scrolling on to the next thing. And I mean, you can do a lot of experimenting with that to figure out what you want. And like I had mentioned before, if you're doing something hundreds of times, that's your time to experiment and play around with it. So when it comes to video types, I'm talking like general categories that you see videos under. So like, probably one of the easiest ones to do that I do a lot is just like time-lapse videos of whatever it is that you're doing. When it comes to the actual content, you can do something that's a little bit more informative, kind of like tips and trick stuff, or, you know, more instructional things. And some of this stuff depends on the platform that you're on, because some of this stuff is like more geared towards short form content versus your more long form, like YouTube content, where you're on a topic for like tens of minutes, as opposed to like something that is maybe a minute at most, or maybe even under 30 seconds. So like, even doing, like I mentioned, boring stuff like tool maintenance, or, you know, like process shots, where it's like, I'm going to show you how I cut the ends of my boards with my miter saw. And, you know, it might be something super mundane to you, but how you do it might be different than other people, that it engages them. And speaking of engagement, you can like, probably one of the easiest ways, which is kind of depends on the type of content that you want to do, is essentially rage baiting people, where it's like you do something that you know is going to upset some people. It doesn't necessarily have to be bad, it just has to be different. Which I would put my router sled flattening video in that category, because the direction that I did it, they're like, probably like a quarter of the comments were about like, you should do it the other way, so it like goes along the boards. It's like, well, can't do that because of how the lead screw mechanism is on there. But that's what got a lot of engagement, is doing something different than when people actually expect. I mean, the other thing too was that a lot of people, even though I literally had on there that it was like router sled flattening with the text on the front of it, people are like, why the hell would you need to do that for your deck joists? Because it looked like deck joists, and I was doing something different than you normally would be for joists. And I was like, well, it's a good thing it's not, you know, deck joists, is what I replied to a bunch of people on that one. But the type of content that you're producing, sometimes the type of angles that you're getting, you can match those up, and sometimes they work well with other things, because, you know, if you're doing more how-to stuff, sometimes you're gonna have to cut away to like a deep dive sometimes, where it's like you go from like B-roll of you just like churning out a bunch of stuff on your jointer, and then you say, hey, when I was doing this, I was doing something different with my jointer, with my hands or whatever, that you may not have noticed. And it's, you know, maybe it's like a cutaway of you with the jointer slowing down and showing, this is how I, you know, my form of the jointer, or how I put pressure on it, or something like that, where you're doing more of that explainer, where it's that A-roll type footage that you're integrating into it. So the topic that you're discussing can definitely play a part in like the type of camera angles that you want to have, and that you're filming. But that's, I mean, that's kind of going down more of the direction from less of the like technical aspects to more of the artistic, like what even is the topic that you're covering in that particular content.
Yeah. Well, I think, why don't we wrap that topic up?
I think we shall.
Alrighty.
Good news, everyone.
Well, as far as news goes, we are getting ready to do our next Patreon meetup. So make sure you look inside of Patreon to find the poll that Alex will be posting in the next week or so about times and that work out for that. So we want to get your feedback on what times work for you so we can get our Patreon meetup put together.
And that is a benefit for all patron levels that we have. So regardless of which tier you are on, that is something that you get to be a part of.
Yeah. And if they want to join, how do they do that?
So you can go onto the Patreon app and search for Whatcha Makin Show, or if you're on a web browser on the big screen on your computer, because it's a big deal. We'd like to think we're a big deal, but maybe we're not. You can go to patreon.com/Whatcha Makin Show, and you can become a patron that way, and you can see our beautiful faces even more on that quarterly patron call.
And we are a big deal. We're a big little deal.
That's right.
Well, with that,
In case I don't see ya. Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
good night, everybody.
Night, night. Booga, booga, booga.